What's up, everyone? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, January 24th, 2019. I hope you're doing well. Continuing to trade sideways. Interestingly enough, amidst this CBOE exchange news that came out, and we're going to talk about that real quick at the beginning of this video, but then we're going to talk about where is Bitcoin in terms of this bottom bear market cycle. So let's jump right into this video and talk about these things. So the CBOE BZX exchange has withdrawn a proposed rule change that, if approved, would clear the way for a Bitcoin exchange-traded fund backed by VanEck and SolidX. So you probably heard this yesterday. This came out yesterday. The SEC delayed any decision on the proposal a number of times, asking for public comment and taking meetings with proponents. The regulator faced a final decision deadline, February 27th. Everybody knows. Everybody's kind of waiting for February 27th after it was already put on the back burner a couple of times. While the notice itself did not provide a reason for the withdrawal, some securities lawyers speculated that the ongoing government shutdown will result in the ETF being denied, as no staffers at the SEC are able to review the proposed rule change. In an email, VanEck Director of Digital Asset Strategy Gabor Gurbax told CoinDesk that the filing has been temporarily withdrawn. I think it's important to note that word temporarily. If you're specifically long in this market, you're probably not one that is so keen and so urgently awaiting these ETFs being approved. And it would be nice, obviously. I think it could be a good thing, but you might have some more patience than some others that are just they're wanting or hoping for a quick pump in the markets because of this. So this is temporary for certain reasons, and I think it's important to take note of that. It continues, we're actively working with regulators and major market participants to build appropriate market structure frameworks for Bitcoin ETF and digital assets in general, he said. So it's not like ETFs, no, we've decided not to even pursue this. We decided we don't even want to do this. This is temporary. Because of things going on potentially with this government shutdown, it makes sense. So if you have patience, if you're long in this Bitcoin game, I think you're going to be okay. I think we're all going to be okay. Let's go over to the charts. I want to, obviously zoom in all the way to the 4 hour. I want to start on the weekly. Get a sense, get a picture of what's happening. It's simple. We're in a bear market and everybody's trying to determine the bottom. But if we look at the RSI, right, you have this momentum oscillator in the middle of the screen with the pink line. You get a really good sense of the similarities between now and this last bear market that we had, right? And that bottom channel that we talk about all the time. So leading into that area, you see this steep decline on the weekly RSI momentum oscillator. And similarly, we have this same steep decline. The question really is that I'm asking myself is, when we got this first touch right to that oversold line in the weekly RSI back in that last bear market, you can see we made a retracement and then we finally hit our bottom just in that oversold area. I'm really curious right now if we're going to get something similar, that first touch, retracement back up, and then one more capitulation down. Now that plays in very well with our daily analysis that we're going to talk about in a second, but I really wanted to just kind of put that synergy on the screen for you to just look at, zoomed out on the charts. Would you say that this is a good time to buy that whole time back there? I would. And similarly, we've talked about this many times, anything under this 40 line on the RSI, especially the weekly, I would say good time to accumulate. That's not financial advice. This is my approach to the market. Want to throw it out there. It becomes a little bit more tough to determine where the bottom is. However, I'm pretty sure we're in a bottom range and accumulation is a good idea in my opinion. So we can go over to the daily chart and we see some similarities even more from that last bear market. So we had that huge high that we had in that bear market, and then we just kind of entered that or we had it in the bull market, right before the bear market. And then we entered that long series of lower highs, that you see on the screen here. Now, the RSI on the daily paints that picture pretty nicely, right? we have that bull market high, and then we have the bear market beginning with a lower high and another lower high. And then finally, in this bottom range that Bitcoin was in, we started testing previous lower highs. Like right here, we saw resistance. But then bull market resumes, and that's why you start seeing on the RSI higher highs again, right? So that's kind of like the momentum move of Bitcoin. It's so important to track. It's really helpful in determining when to buy the dips and how to accumulate. So similarly, we have something very similar to that last bear market, which is we have that swing high, all-time high right here on the RSI. And then from there, we enter our bear markets. We have these lower highs in formation. So I think one question we can answer is, are we in that bottom range of the bear market? Are we in that near term end of the bear market? I think the answer is yes. And from there, you kind of have to take your own approach in accumulating. Don't listen to people on YouTube, whether we're going up to $4,500 next or down to $2,500 next. Find your own risk tolerance at this point of the game, and really just it's the best advice I can give you, and it's not financial advice. It's advice not to listen to YouTubers. But this data that we have on the screen should really make that decision easier in terms of you sitting back or all of us sitting back and analyzing our risk tolerance. So we currently had our previous lower high right there. Now, obviously what we want is on the RSI, we want to retest this area. We need that upward momentum. And this is what plays into the charts and the pattern that we have right now on the screen in this symmetrical triangle, because we're either going to test this previous lower high on this RSI and maybe get some upward momentum to climb out of this bear market, or if we don't get that, we're going to make a move potentially back down to this oversold line, if not lower, right, on the downside, if we get a downward move through the bottom of the symmetrical triangle that you see on the screen. We have a breakout target right now for the symmetrical triangle on the downside. We're talking 30 to 35% to the downside. So we're at a really important critical area in terms of technical analysis and this pattern that you see on the screen, because Bitcoin really truly needs to hold in this area of support at the bottom of this trend line. So again, I talked about this in the video the other day. The one thing I'm looking at on the upside is another retest at this 50 EMA on the daily chart. It is the storyteller for Bitcoin, currently around 9% away from that area. Are we going to get a move to test that area once more? And then from there, we're going to get a really strong idea, in the strength of Bitcoin, in the strength of Bitcoin bulls, the energy of the bulls when we approach this area. If we get rejection there, in my opinion, it's not looking good. And then if we go to the 4 hour, you can really get a good picture. If you look at the bottom of the screen of this descending volume happening throughout this large term symmetrical triangle. That's not a bullish indicator, by the way. That descending volume is definitely weak for Bitcoin, especially as we trade at the bottom end of this symmetrical triangle. So if I could say anything to you right now, it would be careful. Nobody knows at the end of the day what Bitcoin's going to do. It can do anything. However, the data we have helps us, I think, to make some wise decisions in accumulation. Let me know how you're making out there. Are you accumulating or are you waiting? I've seen more and more people say they're waiting. I appreciate all of you coming by. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. I would love to have you as part of the channel. I will see you all in the next video. Have an awesome day, and God bless.